It's a platform 120 feet tall just for dropping stuff. This is a motorized steel barrel just for strapping down a car and turning it upside down. I'm not sure what this one's for, but I'm pretty sure I could come up with something cool to do with it. Where am I? I'm in Arizona, in the middle of 150 acres of pure awesome. This is pretty much what I would design as my ideal playground. It's a test facility designed to break things, smash things, make them fail, and analyze the aftermath. This is one of the test facilities owned by Exponent Systems, and today they're going to help us smash some cars.
And first up to feel the crash force is this.
So this is our car.
This is our car. We're going to smash it at 50 miles an hour into a wall.
Well, let's get started.
All right. How's all this going to go down? This is a 1,280-foot long crash rail. It has a track embedded in it and a cable that pulls a car along that track towards the impact spot.
These two V8 engines, which have about 800 horsepower between them, pull this cable, which pulls the car up to the desired speed.
When the car gets to about here, the cable's going to release it, so it's traveling only under its own momentum, right into this big steel thing. It's at this point that we'll have a complete picture of what happens to a car when it's going 50 miles an hour and comes to a dead stop by crashing into a wall.
It's not just a picture they'll be getting. Jamie has also added some high-tech trickery to capture the force facts.
There we go. Inside the car, underneath the back seat, is mounted a block of accelerometers that measure deceleration of the impact in 3 separate axes of movement. That information is sent back to a data logger that's mounted in the back of the car. It records all that information. It's kind of like a black box.
Just like in the small-scale test, they'll gather the stats for a 50-mile-per-hour wall crash, a 100-mile-per-hour wall crash, and then finally a 50-mile-per-hour head-on collision.
This crash, it's basically a data point, one of 2 that we will obtain in order to correctly analyze our head-on collision. Careful viewers will note that in the full scale, we're following the same experimental procedure as we did with our hammers and clay. We think it has a nice symmetry. Shall we log the pre-crash length?
Sure.
15 feet.
All right then.
All right, the cable's ready. Come on in.
With the length logged and the black box engaged, the car is ready to meet its fate, slamming into a solid steel wall at 50 miles per hour.
All right, this is one car into one wall at 50 miles an hour. Take it away.
Okay, Bob, we're ready for roll-out.
The V8 engines roar as they spin the cable. And the car gains speed till it's holding at precisely 50 miles per hour. And then plows headlong into a wall of steel.
Oops.
I hope they're insured.
Yep, it's a car crash, I think.
Yeah, I'd say what happened here is this car here hit this wall. There.
It's a spectacular smash. The force of the impact crunched the front of the car like a car hitting a steel wall at 50 miles per hour, leaving it 3.5 feet shorter.
11 feet 7 inches.
But of course, that's not the only impact stat.
What say we find out what the G load was?
These guys are downloading the data about the crash right now. Okay, here's the stats on that crash. This car hit that wall at 50.7 miles per hour and took an average of 58 Gs in the longitudinal direction. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that when we smash a car into this wall at 100 miles an hour, the G load is going to be significantly higher.
Adam and Jamie have been testing whether you can shoot the gun out of your opponent's hand, leaving them unarmed and unharmed. The unharmed department is not looking so good.
That is some nasty damage.
And although the bad guys dropped their gun in 2 out of the 3 positions, Adam is not convinced unarmed is working out either.
The gun didn't fall out.
He thinks there's a missing human link. But with shooting at each other out of the question, how do they test this safely?
We're only testing one metric of the gun holder, which is his grip strength holding onto the gun. And I think there may be other factors involved. Specifically, I want to know what it's like for that shooter when that shock force is applied to the gun. So, coming up, one subjective shock force test.
And this is Adam's plan. In this test, he's pulling some strings to narrow down the element of surprise. He'll give Jamie an unexpected short, sharp jolt, simulating the shock of having your handgun shot out of your hand.
Just don't look that way.
I'll look this way.
There you go. I'm hoping this simulates to some degree what it's like to hold onto a gun that's been shot. Jamie, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Jamie, hold the gun in the correct orientation. That's great. Now, I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to drop it. It got knocked out of your hand.
It did.
How did that feel?
Well, when you're not expecting it, it's like pretty aggressive.
So the surprise of our little string pull experiment made you drop the gun, eh?
It did, but you know, I somehow imagined that a real bullet hitting the gun would have more sting to it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I think I've got a rig in my head that might be able to add that to the mix.
Okay then.
So what is it like when one of these gets shot out of your hand? I think that it would sting like hell. I think it'd be like hitting something hard with a baseball bat. So what I'm gonna do is take this pistol, use it as a template to take an aluminum plate, put some gun handles on it, and a big paddle out here. See where I'm going with this? And then I'm gonna have Jamie hit that paddle with something like a baseball bat and see how hard it is to hold on. I think I might wanna let go immediately. We're getting close. You don't know this about me, but I have a particular penchant for objects that were clearly made for a very specific function, and yet what that function might be has been lost to time. And this definitely falls into that category. Ta-da! I'm very pleased. I can state without reservation, this is my favorite thing I've ever built for this show. Yeah. If you will hold that.
And with a little help from Slugger Heineman, Adam is going to put his new favorite toy to the test.
I'm just trying to think, how much damage could I sustain from this? It's just gonna sting. Okay. My eyes are closed. Ah! Wow! Ow! Yeah. No, there's no way you'd be holding on to that thing. God, that hurt.
And here's how much it hurt in glorious, technicolored, 1,000 frames a second slow motion.
Ow, that looks painful.
Yeah, it definitely was a stinging, ringing sensation. Wow! Ow!
The shock and the pain in Adam's face was really evident, and may I say also really satisfying. But how does that relate to a bullet hitting a gun in terms of energy transfer? Well, on the one hand, we have a bat, 800 grams. It was traveling 85 miles per hour, and that gives us a potential energy of 428 foot-pounds force. On the other hand, we have a bullet, 15 grams, traveling 613 miles per hour, and the potential energy there is 416 foot-pounds force. Those numbers are basically the same, and yet somehow I'm not going to be satisfied unless I get something really close to an actual bullet hitting an actual gun and one of us holding on to it.
Next up is the accidental rocket that could ruin your next barbecue.
So you're looking excited. What's up?
It's our myth. It's a good one, which kind of reminds me of my childhood.
Okay, hit me.
All right, imagine a garage or a shed is on fire. Inside is a barbecue with a propane tank. It explodes and turns into a rocket, launching 150 feet into the air.
Oh, I've heard of this one. It's very similar to the water heater rocket. The heat causes the pressure inside the tank to build, then there's a catastrophic rupture and sends the tank flying up into the sky.
Wait. This reminds you of your childhood?
Yeah, I'd rather not talk about it. My parents are still a little upset.
Like they said, this isn't the first time we've adapted a pressure vessel. Or deliberately set one on fire. Or even tried to turn a gas tank into a missile. But if this myth is true, catastrophe could be brewing in your own backyard. The story goes that a propane tank once became a rocket. At its perfect trajectory, hit 150 feet.
Look, I gotta say, I got my doubts about this.
How so?
Propane tanks, just like all of the pressurized vessels, have a pressure relief valve built in. When the pressure gets too high, they simply vent off the excess, thereby averting a catastrophic failure.
Yeah, but what if the fire is so intense that the pressure is building faster inside the tank than the relief valve can dump out?
I suppose it's possible.
Fun day at the bomb range.
Now, for this myth, we need a burning garage with a propane tank inside of it. Now, since no one's gonna let us burn down a garage, we need to build our own, but we don't have time to build a full-size one, so we're gonna make a miniature one. But we're still gonna build it up to code. It's gonna have studs every 16 inches, it's gonna have 3 walls, a driveway, and a roof. Now that should be plenty of material to burn in order to get this garage hot enough to turn this propane tank into a rocket.
So you're probably wondering, how can a propane tank turn into a rocket? Let me paint the picture. You heat up the tank, the pressure inside builds to a high amount. Enough that the tank ruptures somewhere, hopefully in a small pinhole that forms a nozzle. Gas comes shooting out, it catches fire, and all of that causes thrust that launches the tank up into the air like a rocket.
They're hoping this neat little outhouse will eventually burn at a temperature of over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's almost too pretty to put to the torch, but beauty fades fast around here.
It's Tori's Playhouse! And a magic word for the day is explosions.
Here on the show, we like to say that every day's a good day for an explosion, but some days are definitely better than others.
I thought the dangerous part was gonna be the exploding propane tanks.
You all right?
Oh no.
It's hardly a firm foundation, but the guys know that today, the joys of shed ownership will be fleeting. As a rocket launch site, this will soon be a smoking pile of ashes. Shame, really.
Carrie, I really love these colors. They're very hot for fall, you know.
It's one of the hardest things on MythBusters, and one of the coolest things on MythBusters is you spend so much time on a beautiful build, and then you just obliterate it in seconds. Woo!
They're now ready to install the stunt barbecue and the star of the show.
Hey, don't forget the propane. Came straight from my garage.
But there's still some fuel to add to the fire.
So this kind of looks like a lot of firewood, right? Well, it is. Because what we want is for this fire to burn long and hot.
So they stack the shed with wood and charcoal, 2 common commodities that should catch fire and raise the temperature.
Now, this fire is gonna get so hot that there is a good chance that this tank is gonna explode.
But we want a rocket. And if the relief valve does its job, this could turn out to be nothing more than a backyard bonfire. Then again, one of the great things about MythBusters is that we're so often wrong.
Now, all we have to do is set it on fire. Is this thing gonna burn? Oh yeah, it is. Is it gonna explode? It might. Is it gonna turn into a rocket? I hope so.
After a liberal splash of gasoline,
That ought to do it.
the team shows its flair for setting a fire.
All right, you guys ready?
Ready?
Let's torch this thing in 3, 2, 1. Whoa! Run!
Each passing second feels like 10 as they hightail it back to the bunker.
All right, you guys, this next myth is gonna be insane.
What is it?
That's it, the hwacha. It's an ancient Korean weapon.
If there's a picture of it, that means it's not a myth, it exists.
Well, we know it exists. What we're gonna test is the legend of the hwacha, whether or not it could do what they said it could do. Apparently, they could fire 200 arrows all at once, going 500 yards, and all of the arrows explode on impact.
Okay, well, to begin with, any weapon in that era wouldn't have had the benefit of modern explosives or propellants. It was likely based entirely on black powder.
So first we need to find out if black powder can actually propel one of those arrows 500 yards.
Right, and then we need to see if we can get these rockets to explode on impact.
And finally, we need to see if we can launch 200 arrows simultaneously without them all crashing into each other or exploding on the stand.
It's a massive myth to unravel with 3 key parts. 1, can a fire arrow actually travel 500 yards? 2, can it be rigged to explode on impact? And 3, can you really set off 200 at once? So let's start up at the pointy end.
What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to build one of these arrows from the materials that the ancient Koreans would have used. I have some bamboo, I have some feathers for my fletching, and finally, a piece of steel to make my arrowheads out of.
Tori proves himself a first-class fletcher and a pretty fair blacksmith.
All right, so my arrow's done. Now it's time to see how it flies. Pretty dang good.
That's 1 down, 199 to go. Tori leaves the hard work to Karen as he and Grant skip town to visit Zambelli Fireworks in Pennsylvania.
We're lost, aren't we?
The rationale behind the road trip is that the fire arrows work just like skyrockets.
Happen to have some fun while we're here? That's purely coincidental.
Just like fireworks, the Hwacha rockets were charged with black powder. Ours have to travel 500 yards strapped to a 4.5-foot arrow. Grant and Tori are determined to roll their own, and Bill is here to help them.
Well, let's see, what's one of these weigh? Well, about 4 ounces. That's not bad. Every 12 ounces the shell weighs, we add 1 ounce of lift to lift it up in the air. You know, if you guys want to go 500 yards, that's a long way, so we'll see how a 2-ounce rocket works.
Using 6-inch cardboard tubes, Bill shows how to pack a charge without blowing up the bunker.
And so you do a little bit at a time, and you
Put the rods down in, and you just give it a couple hits.
Feels wrong.
Just don't hit it too hard, man. I'd hate to see you blow your hand off. Feel good? Hey.
Grant and Tori make several versions, some with more black powder and some with less. The rockets are wrapped in paper, then Bill adds the fuse.
And when we go to fire it, we'll cut this paper and peel it back. And give yourself five or 6 seconds to walk away.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah, let's see what these bad boys can do.
Oh, this is perfect. I mean, can't you just imagine an invading army coming out of that forest?
Totally. All right, so we need to see if these arrows can fly 500 yards, so we should walk it out.
They're here to test part 1 of the myth, that a rocket arrow really could make the distance. But 500 yards is a long, long way.
This is how all horror movies start. Didn't that guy say stick to the path? This is gonna be perfect. We're right at the tree line.
The crop ends smack bang on the 500-yard mark. They tape the target halfway up a tree so they can see it from the launch site.
At this point, I think we're just going for distance rather than aim. But if I were to take a guess to see whether the arrow would hit him, I'd have to say we probably wouldn't. But then again, the Hwacha had 200 arrows.
This might sound crazy, but a lot of the fans are saying that you can actually make rope out of toilet paper, and it'll be strong enough that you could scale down a jail wall and escape.
Toilet paper? Are you serious?
All right, well, if we're gonna do that, I think we should do the all-time classic, making a rope out of bed sheets.
I know it's kind of out there, but let's also do the Rapunzel version of this, where you make a rope out of hair.
Ew.
Any prison break worth its place in urban folklore involves a death-defying descent from a great height, including these fan-site fables. Desperate convicts, eager to be ex-convicts, have escaped jail with the apparent aid of cell-made ropes of toilet paper and bed sheets. And if you include Rapunzel's luscious locks, that's 3 harebrained escape plans to test.
So how are we gonna test this?
Well, why don't we each take one of the materials, make our ropes, and see which one of us makes it down the side of the building.
And may the best rope win.
Wait, I want bed sheets then.
Too late.
Yes, in a vertigo-inducing finale,
Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up.
our fun-loving criminals will find out for real if the ropes made from their mythical materials will aid and abet their jailbreak,
Stupidest idea ever.
or send them plummeting to their doom.
Ow!
But before all that, let's take you back to the beginning, where Carrie's plan for a braided escape is giving her a bad hair day.
Is this not the most disgusting thing you've ever seen? An entire box of just hair?
Yes, coming in at #1 on the weirdest raw material chart are 50 human hair ponytails.
We have to break out of a building that's 14 stories high. So I have to make a rope that is 140 feet long. I think the difficulty here is not going to necessarily be the strength of the hair, because this feels really strong. I think it's going to be where the hair splices together. I have to come up with some sort of knotting or braiding system that it won't slide apart and, 100 feet down, I'm not just going to plummet to the earth. And it's gross.
Meanwhile, Grant's mythical method is a little more conventional and a film fugitive favorite.
So in order to make sure we have maximum authenticity here, we've gotten these bed sheets from our friends in Alameda County, and they're actual county jail linens.
But he's not only keeping it real, he's keeping it simple.
My plan is to extend them lengthwise so that they're the full 7 feet long, and then fold it into a rope-type shape and knot them together.
And finally, Tori, who has some serious tensile strength issues with his authentic one-ply prison-issue tissue.
There you have it. It's not strong enough.
But he's a man with a plan.
If you look at the toilet paper, it's perforated for your convenience of pulling off one sheet at a time. Already, it's got this built-in weak leak. So I think twisting it, rolling it, will give me the extra strength that I need. Look at that. The same amount of toilet paper, just wrapped up, is strong enough to now hold the 3 kilos. So this is the way I'm gonna make my toilet paper rope.
Adam and Jamie's past crusade to hold Hollywood to scientific account has given the team some memorable moments of movie mayhem. But on this last crusade, the team are tackling the tall tale that a stick between the spokes can cause a head-over handlebars flip. So far, they've got their bike and rigged a remote control flagpole thruster. So, what's next?
When this bike is moving at highway speeds, the spokes are going so fast you can hardly see them. So what we need to find out is whether it's possible for a human to thrust a stick into those spokes fast enough to get them cleanly through there. And then once that occurs, what happens to the wheel?
And to get the wheel spinning at chase scene speeds, 50 miles per hour, Adam whips up a dynamometer.
So the dynamometer is fully built and constructed. It's ready to spin this wheel up, and I'm going to explain. I don't really need to explain how it works, do I? The motor drives the chain, drives the wheel, spins it up to speed, we poke it with a stick. It's pretty straightforward. And now it's time for the old spoke and poke test.
What?
So seriously, we're compiling our all-time favorite MythBuster episodes?
Yep.
I got a few.
Totally. This is going to be awesome.
Well, what are you guys standing around for? Let's get started.
Oh, crap.
So we're all set to launch the Top 25 Countdown. And it's going to be a wild ride full of spectacle, science, and an intriguing insight into the host's personal highlights. Not to mention all those fan favorites you love to see again and again and again.
So where do we begin? What do we got?
In at 25, the first most memorable MythBuster moment is in fact the first ever myth. Yep, way back when Adam looked 16 and Jamie looked like Jamie, our dynamic duo took on the myth of the JATO rocket car. And to test it, they built their own jet-assisted takeoff rockets, attached them to a car,
Yeehaw!
and hit the desert with mayhem in mind.
I'm going to have a grinectomy.
It's funny, after all these years, that our first episode, the JATO rocket car, is still a fan favorite and still actually really a high point for me and Jamie.
Brakes are coming off. We are a go.
Sitting in that chopper watching the rocket car take off.
Okay, we're in line. Okay, coming out of full throttle. I'm coming hot with the electronics.
It was just extraordinary.
Go ahead, set them off. Firing in 3, 2, 1, fire. 3, 2, 1, firing. 3, 2, 1, firing. We got them all.
I mean, the closest example that I can give to it is that it was like watching some sort of African animal take off really quickly across the savannah. Except this was a car with a rocket on it. I mean, it was beautiful. It was gorgeous.
At a classic Mythbuster moment.
That was hysterical. That was absolutely outrageous.
A hint of the absurd, a dash of engineering, and a side salad of busted urban myth.
Hey! That was beautiful.
From a single soaring moment in the Mojave to a whole lot of locking and loading. Responsibly, of course.
Let's do it.
Guns are a part of our standard stock and trade on this show, and I gotta say, I have some reservations about that because, well, they kill people, and that's to be avoided. But that being said, they're often fascinating, elegantly engineered machines that in our hands, where we use materials and tools in ways for which they were never intended,
I call it my little pop gun.
things get real interesting real fast. It's a lot of fun.
You're looking at a vegetarian
Hey, nice shot.
from California.
Let her have it, Carrie.
I never expected that I would be a gun person. Until I joined MythBusters.
Guns and ammo are part of the Mythbuster tradition, but that relationship is built on respect and an ultra-safe environment created by expert armorers and law enforcement officials.
And if you see anything unsafe, please report it to the range master.
But the moment that fires guns and ammo into number 24 is from the viewer-requested mini-myth that it was possible to cut down a tree with a machine gun. And after Tori and Grant failed with the small arms, our vegetarian tree-hugging hippie stepped up to ramp it up.
One of my all-time favorite moments on MythBusters was shooting a Gatling gun to mow down a tree. Okay, we're going hot. I had never shot anything this crazy before. In 3, 2, 1. We're talking 30 caliber bullets, 3,000 rounds per minute. Just
That is an iceberg.
It's really cold here, but it's also really beautiful.
This place has a mythology all its own.
So we've got a full hour of Alaska myths.
Tourism types up here market the 49th state as the land of intensity. It's twice the size of Texas, so we figure it's big and intense enough to handle some high-impact myth-busting.
Like most of our favorite myths, this one involves some drunken friends and explosives. You got a group of drunken friends, one of whom's just bought a brand new SUV, and they all decide that they want to go duck hunting with their dog. Except there's nothing around them but a frozen lake, and no duck is going to land on a frozen lake, so they need to make a hole. One of them offers up a stick of dynamite with a 20-second fuse to make a big hole, and throws that stick of dynamite as hard as he can.
I can see what's coming.
The dog, following its natural impulses, chases after that stick of dynamite, catches it, starts ferrying it back to the guy under the brand new SUV.
Uh-oh.
The dog, the dynamite, and the SUV go boom! The SUV goes down to the bottom of the lake, and the guy who owned it is still making payments.
This not-so-urban myth surely stretches the bounds of human stupidity. My sympathies are all with the dog, though you must admit, it's as funny as hell. But maybe it's too funny to be true. As Jamie and Adam set off to find their frozen lake, it's worth noting that this folktale is almost as old as dynamite itself.
Over 100 years ago, Australian author Henry Lawson wrote a comic story along very similar lines. He called it The Loaded Dog, and needless to say, he made the whole thing up. Still, we can't assume it couldn't happen, and that's enough reason to put it to the test.
The first thing we obviously needed was a frozen lake, and the researchers found us one here in Alaska behind me. This snowfield you see is in fact Fisher Pond, a man-made lake, which means there are no fish for us to kill, with a nice coating of rock-hard ice on top.
The ice on the pond is too thick to dig through, and that supports the myth. But can it support a 2-ton truck?
Okay, here we go.
Orson Smith and his fancy ice drill should give us a quick answer. Fans of slapstick should appreciate the breakthrough moment.
Whoa! That's a hell of a thing.
The ice core cracks up as it's bashed loose.
Look at that.
Put back together, it's 1.5 feet thick.
So it's got vertical crystals that make it really stronger than average.
So it's safe for us to drive our SUV out here?
Yes.
All
yes,
right.
I think so.
Good.
That'll hold a lot more than that SUV weighs.
So far, so good, and it's really cold. Out here on the lake, it's 20 below, but that can't slow down the science.
Look, this story has a ton of components to it, and the first part of it is how far can you throw a stick of dynamite?
Standard stick of dynamite, about 8 inches long, about 1/2 pound. I figure I can throw it about an M5, which is 100 feet. That's how we measure things, Adam and I.
Remember, kids, this isn't real dynamite. We would never throw real dynamite, and neither should you. All right, Jimmy. I want you to put your chi into this thing. That's it. Go! Nice!
Jamie's toss is up over the 100-foot mark. Now it's Adam's chance to prove he's got the mojo of the throw Joe.
Those look to be about the same.
2 hefty, manly throws with an average distance of...
125 feet.
Okay, time to bring out the dog. This is Rudy, a young black Labrador. Puffing, drooling, and full of running, he's a born retriever, making him the perfect candidate to try to cover the distance there and back before the 20-second fuse fizzles out.
The myth is about a black lab that retrieves a stick of dynamite. That's what Rudy is. As you can see, he's raring to go. He really wants to retrieve that stick of dynamite.
And has no idea what he's signed up for.
Well, our fire-loving fans want us to start with a bang.
Give me more.
Well, this guy sent us this video of a bucket, and it has a bunch of matches in it. He lights it, it makes a big fireball.
That's perfect.
What's up, MythBusters? I was looking on YouTube, and I found a video where some guys got 30,000 match heads, and they put them all together, and they made this great big fireball. And I thought you guys could test it out, see if you can really do that with matches.
According to the video, the backyard blast was made using a tin bucket, 30,000 match heads, and 1 slow-burning fuse. But fans want to know, did match heads alone create this intense inferno?
The video says that they used 30,000 match heads. Now, that's going to take a while.
Yep. There's nothing to do, though, but get started.
Okay.
Instead of wooden matches, Adam and Jamie are slicing and dicing paper matchbooks.
Judging by that bucket, I'd say I've only got a drop in the bucket.
But what's key is the match heads themselves. All match heads use a potent chemical, potassium chlorate. So potent it's found in gunpowder and was widely used in early explosives. But is it potent enough to create the fireball of the fable? Well, feeling frisky after a full 10-hour day of match decapitation, the MythBusters are itching to find out.
The YouTube submission that we are replicating here today is a fan who supposedly spent hours cutting the heads off 30,000 matches, dumped them into a steel bucket, put that steel bucket in his backyard, put a little bit of fuse to it, lit it, and the thing went whoosh like that. That looks good enough to try. And instead of doing it in our backyard, well, we're going to do it in one of our favorite locations, almost our second shop, the Alameda County Sheriff's Bombing Range.
The bomb range may seem like overkill, but it's better to be safe than scorched.
30,000 match heads.
Yeah.
Now, has anyone got a light?
This right here is slow-burning cannon fuse. It seems to be what they're using in the video. It burns at about 1 foot every 30 seconds. And we just happen to have some around the shop.
While Adam gets in touch with his inner pyro, Jamie explores the burning issue of match safety.
You've got potassium chlorate, which is the fuel, and then you have phosphorus, which is what makes it sensitive enough to ignite. Now, in the strike anywheres, that phosphorus is on the white tip right here. And so you can strike it anywhere, the two chemicals combine, and you've got a fire. In the safety matches, though, the phosphorus is in the striker pad right there, and the potassium chlorate is in the match. You combine the two and they both go off. Now, we're going to be using safety matches for our experiment because, well, they're safer.
Safer, except when you strike 30,000 at once. But is this mayhem just about matches, or did other accelerants fan the flame?
Will these behave the way they did in the YouTube clip? Well, that's 20. We're going to be igniting 30,000. Will they create a flame 8 or 10 feet high? Only one way to find out. I love it when common materials are dangerous. Go ahead and light it.
I like using the fuse more than almost anything else. So much anticipation.
The fuse burns at 2 feet per minute. So 4 feet and 2 minutes of anticipation later.
Wow! Oh, nice!
That was cool.
That's pretty good.
It's a sparktacular result. A 10 feet tall Roman candle. Burn for burn, it's the same as the blast in the YouTube video. The high-speed camera confirms it. It's a match, give or take 30,000.
That is about the correct height for what it showed in YouTube.
Oh, yes. Look at that. Wow. I thought we were looking for 8 or 9 foot plume of hot fire, and that's exactly what we got. Based on this, I think that YouTube video is 100% correct, accurate, and true.
In other words, it's myth confirmed. But before you can say, don't try this at home, Adam and Jamie are already hatching a more powerful pyrotechnic plan.
But you know we can't leave it there.
Oh, I know.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
That can only mean one thing.
Yes, it can. It means, backed by popular demand, it's time for the duct tape special number 2.
It was one of our most popular shows.
I'm giving it all we got, Captain!
When the MythBusters paid homage to duct tape, fans went into a frenzy.
More duct tape!
Love it!
Because you asked for it, they're putting more duct tape tales to the ultimate test.
Oh, it's for real.
First, they built a duct tape boat. This time, Adam and Jamie's duct tape challenge might land them in troubled waters.
That was a pretty cool boat. Gonna be hard to top it.
And yet, I feel we must try.
So what do you have in mind?
I see, in my mind's eye, a chasm, wide and deep, spanned only by duct tape.
A duct tape bridge.
That you and I can walk across.
Sounds dangerous.
Exactly.
A duct tape dinghy's one thing, but using duct tape to replace steel and stone? The tape's mythical adhesive and load-bearing capabilities are about to be stretched to the absolute limit. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
You know, before we decide on a final design, I think we should run duct tape through its paces in the shop downstairs. A series of bench tests, if you will.
Okay.
Look, obviously we're already pretty familiar with the awesome power of duct tape. But if we're gonna make a bridge out of this stuff that safely suspends us above a chasm, we're gonna have to determine a couple of things right up front. 1, how much are we gonna need to support our body weight? 2, how are we gonna anchor the duct tape to the sides of that chasm? That's what we're about to test and figure out. Oh, so where do you want to begin?
What say we stretch out a single strand and see what it takes to break it?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Step 1, a single strand strength test.
Today, the role of our strength testing device will be played by a digital force gauge. I will pull on the duct tape with this hook, and right here it'll tell me how many pounds of force it takes before it breaks.
10, 12, 13.
This is killing me. I don't mean it's hurting, it's just the anticipation. 63. Oh! 67.3 pounds of force to break it.
Wow, that's more than I would have thought.
Me too.
They might be well acquainted with duct tape's awesome qualities, but it still has the power to surprise.
I didn't realize the duct tape was going to be that strong. That means that we could, in fact, build a bridge, in theory, with like 3 or 4 strips of duct tape and nothing else.
That little laugh means Jamie's already plotting to put that theory to the test.
I want to stretch 4 across and sit on it.
And sit on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
One strand snaps at 67 pounds, so 4 strands should hold a 180-pound Heinemann, right?
You ready to sit on this?
I am. All right, go for it. Slow down, slow down.
So you're hanging.
I am. I would say I'm off the ground.
That's pretty stunning.
With a combined load-bearing capacity of more than 260 pounds, the 4 strands support Jamie. But they're drooping more than his mustache.
You're drooping like 6 feet over 30 feet. That's quite a bit.
Yep, it's supporting me, but I have to say 4 pieces of duct tape does not a bridge make.
We're now going to try a strand of 8 pieces of duct tape and see if we get less droop.
Will doubling the amount of tape have the droop factor?
You ready for sitting on 8 pieces?
I'm ready.
With Jamie sitting pretty on his perch, Adam runs a tape over the tape. And the news isn't good.
4 feet of droop instead of 5 feet of droop.
You would think that that doubling of the quantity of duct tape would, what, cut the amount of droop in half? But it didn't.
Hopes of a successful bridge are sagging. Adam and Jamie have already seen that NASA didn't slow down the film to fake the Apollo mission moonwalks. But to conclusively confirm that the footage was shot in 1/6 gravity, they decided they had to experience the real thing. And here at 0G in Florida, they get to do just that.
Well, in order for us to do this accurately, we need to be properly weighted. Since 0G is providing us with the moon's gravity, 1/6 Earth's gravity, I need to have the exact amount of equipment weight on me that the original Apollo astronauts had on the moon. And that's about 180 pounds of stuff. And it's uncomfortable.
Adam struggling with the excess baggage.
This is unpleasant.
Jamie, on the other hand,
oh yeah,
is keen to display his alpha male status. A status damaged after being forced to join Adam playing dress-ups.
I never thought I'd see the day.
With the weigh-in complete, it's time for the pre-flight briefing with in-flight info from 0G's Elizabeth Underwood.
Elizabeth, now that we're just about to go on, I want to know how good a simulation of zero gravity is this?
It's not a simulation at all. It is the real deal. It's the exact same technique that NASA's been using to train their astronauts for the last 50 years.
And it works like this. A series of parabolic arcs will give the passengers the physical sensation of weightlessness. And just for us, the pilot will adjust the angle of the parabola, making the microgravity in the cabin an exact match to the moon's gravitational pull, which just leaves the guys to step up, strap in, take off, and suit up.
I look good, right? It's good. I look damn good. So right now, I'm loaded up with an extra 180 pounds on my body. In a few minutes, we're gonna actually get to try this out in moon's gravity, and I gotta tell you, I can't wait. This is a heavy suit.
Adam doesn't have to wait long because the guides soon have everyone into position for the first pass. And as G-Force 1 gently arcs into its dive,
Ah, that feels cool.
Adam and Jamie
Oh, here it comes.
know what it feels like to walk on the moon.
Whoa! Wow! That's 100% wacky right there.
Calibrated to match the moon's gravitational pull, the guys just get time to take it all in before The call goes out to hit the deck because as the plane begins to pull out of the dive, the G-forces go into the positive.
There is a cost to being weightless. The other end of the roller coaster, you've got almost twice Earth's gravity. That's kind of terrifying at first, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I've never experienced anything like that. It is really disconcerting to first weigh double your weight and then 1/6 your weight. In fact, at 1/6 my weight, I felt pretty much weightless. I felt like I could jump 10 feet in the air.
This is a first, even for me.
Now that the guys have their bearings, the testing can begin.
Ready?
Adam copies the same run and skip as before. This time leaving out the jump because of height restrictions in the cabin.
The movement felt totally natural as soon as I started doing it. And all the NASA footage makes sense to me now. The skipping they did is a totally efficient way to move in that gravitational pull. I couldn't think of a better confirmation for the NASA footage than trying this myself.
When Adam was walking or running, he was experiencing the exact same thing that Neil Armstrong would have on the moon. It was 1/6 Earth's gravity. Adam did a great job with the bungee cords. It looked pretty convincing, but being here on this plane in microgravity and watching him, it's totally different.
So what's up with the umbrellas?
I'm planning to use them to paint a metaphorical picture. I want you to imagine that you are having a midlife crisis and you run out and spend a bunch of your dough on a really nice convertible sports car.
Okay.
Now further imagine that you're driving it down the street and it starts to rain. What do?
You pull over and you put the top up.
Aha! That's where the fan site myth states that you might be wrong. That instead of wasting your time putting the top up, that you should floor it, go as fast as you can, because there is a speed at which you can drive that no rain will enter the driver's compartment.
Sounds kind of unsafe to me.
Sounds really fun to test to me.
Aerodynamics, dangerous wet weather driving, and a classic urban myth. This is Mythbuster Country. Because viewers want to know if you've got the top down when it starts raining, will putting your foot down keep you dry?
So, does this mean we get to drive a fancy car really fast in the rain?
We do, but we are in sunny California, and that presents a little bit of a problem. I think just as we did in running in the rain, we're going to have to manufacture our own rain here.
It's a bit of a chore, but I think we can handle that. We still get to drive a really fancy car fast in the rain, though, right?
Yes, but slow down there, cowboy. I think perhaps we ought to take this model car and run some shop tests. Sprinkle some water at it, look at it on high speed, see if there's anything at all to this myth.
And then we get to drive a really fancy car fast in the rain.
Okay, look, we'll get some driving lessons. We'll wet down some tarmac. We'll go out next thing and drive a fancy car, all right?
All right.
So to keep Rev Head Heineman happy, they shelve the shop tests in favor of...
Well, the first thing on our agenda is to get some training in foul weather driving on wet roads. And in lovely sunny California, there's nothing better for that than a perfect sunny day.
But being the Boy Scouts that they are, they came prepared to make their own.
Oh, I've made a rainbow. Look at that. This is going to be fun.
That's the bad weather, so all we need now is a convertible car.
You've seen Mythbusters before. You know that generally when we have cars, they explode. But not that one, I don't think. Pretty snappy.
I think I know what I want for Christmas this year.
Guiding the guys through their wet weather driving instruction is Brian Fraser.
Brian's the guy that trains anybody that drives an emergency vehicle how to do it right. That means police, fire, ambulances. Brian's the guy.
There you go. You let a little bit of steering out, you felt the catch.
Right.
If I had a car like that, I wouldn't be letting Adam drive it.
Harsh, but given Adam's track record and current over-caffeinated mood, fair.
Woo! I might have gotten the microphone wet there for a second.
Despite Adam's best efforts, the microphone still works, and they get down to business.
Well, the surface is now wet. we're going to lose that cohesion between the tires and the concrete surface. We're on a concrete pad out here today. Hydroplaning can also be a factor if we got standing water. Ways to deal with this are get off the gas, slow our speed down. It's going to multiply any reaction we do, so you want to not be jerky in your steering movements. So just smoothing out your steering and backing off speed can keep you in control of the car.
The clearest difference between driving on the wet ground versus the dry ground is that it's a lot slipperier.
Oh, sorry about that.
Mostly this feels to me like getting a handle on where out of control is. That's the trick. Once you know where out of control is, you can back off from it. Or you can sneak up to it without getting in too much danger.
Try to get a slide and shoot straight down that way. There you go.
I lost my hat.
We're just trying to get comfortable with this scenario so that if we hit something unknown out there on the testing site, we can recover safely.
And that's the key. By simply getting to grips with the car on a wet surface, they can be sure they won't lose their heads at high speeds on the real test. Which means they're licensed for wet weather science.
That's
I
okay.
keep losing my hat.